السلام ورحمة الله.
Alhamdulillah, I was lucky to accompany some of the brothers that went to the Syrian border and to see the stories and the situation of our brothers over there and to realize the severity of what they're going through. And one of the main things that I realized over there is that what we see on the news, on the BBC, on Al Arabiya, on Al Jazeera, is but a fraction, a small, tiny percentage of the reality of what's happening. It's not even scratching the surface. And Alhamdulillah, Allah gave me the ability to realize this. And I only wish that I were able to take all of you with me. And Alhamdulillah, the reason for this event is that so we can share this experience and we can all be affected by what we've seen that day. What I mean by we don't realize what's actually happening is because all we hear when we go on TV and on the internet and we see what's happening, we see Idlib has been shelled, Hama is being attacked, there's tank fire on Homs. We see that in a town there's been 130 people killed, or we see that this city has been under siege for 5 days or 10 days. And these numbers and these figures and these facts by themselves should be enough to create a zeal within us to end this massacre and this slaughter that's happening. But what we don't realize is the actual human stories of what's happening. These numbers alone don't paint the picture. What about the people who, after the shelling, died from their injuries? So let's say 130 people died from the shelling. What about their mothers and their wives, their widows, their orphan sons? What about their families that then have to grieve after them and have to live the rest of their lives with just memories of their brothers and their sisters? What about those who have been forced to leave their houses in their towns before the shelling and have had to seek refuge in Turkey or in Lebanon or in Iraq? What about the families who are living in mountains? What about the people who are living in villages that don't speak their language and who they don't know anyone there to accommodate them? What about these people? What about the injured? What about the man who's lost both his arms and cannot work after the revolution? What about the person who's lost his legs and has to live the rest of his life? He's a 20-year-old man that's lost his legs and has to live the rest of his life in this state of paralysis. What about these people that we don't hear about? What about the woman who's been raped in front of her children and in front of her husband and now has to live the rest of her marriage and the rest of her life with the shame and the effect that this has on her marriage and on her family life? What about the people in the mountains? We spoke to people who said, we just want blankets. Now how bad does a person's fate have to be that his only request is blankets? I mean, they're taking cover under the sky with the ground is their mattress and they have nowhere to live. What about those who have been forced out their homes and can see their homes being burned and being destroyed? And those people who've lost their businesses because of the shelling and because of the burning and because of the destruction, who now after the revolution have to deal with this. And also another people that we don't realize and we don't know their story is what about the people in the regime's army, the Sunni Muslims who are not allowed to defect because of the ransom that the people have taken their families and their wives as ransom, and if you defect, this is what we'll do to them. I was speaking to a man who told me some of the reasons that these commanders and these big people don't defect is because they'll strip them down and they'll take photos of them doing things unspeakable. And I'm ashamed to even say in front of you brothers and sisters, so I won't. And they say, okay, defect now if you want to, but we'll show this on state television. Or we've got your wife, defect and we'll rape her. What about those Sunni Muslims in the Syrian army who are forced to kill their brothers and Muslims, brothers and sisters, and who are forced to attack places they don't want to attack, who are forced to burn down their own houses? And what about the people who have just seen it? They've just seen it. They haven't been affected by it physically, but then have to live the rest of their life with this trauma. We don't hear about these people. And in Islam, distance is not a factor. You have the same obligation as a Muslim to help the child who's in front of you being stabbed, or the woman who's in front of you being raped, and you have the same obligation to help the woman who's across the world and the child who's across the world being raped, and the same thing's happening to them. Yet we think just because we don't see them and because it's just in the news, it's a fairy tale, it's just stories, and we don't have this obligation. And the people in Syria have told us directly to our faces, have said, you know, I told him Akhi, and I started the sentence with Ya Akhi, and he said to me, don't call me Akhi. Don't even use that word. Because if you were my brother, then we wouldn't be in this situation. What about the people who said, we feel the Muslims have forsaken us? We don't seek your help. We don't want your help. Their only cry is, مَا لَنَا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. We have no one apart from Allah to help us. And we don't want your help. We've asked for it, you haven't given it, we don't want it. الْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ. These people, the weak of the men and the women and the children, who ask Allah, give us a helper, give us someone to grant us victory. And we haven't replied to this call. And we will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. And we will have to answer these questions. Why didn't you help them? Why, when you saw them and when they asked, did you refuse? And we seem to forget that on the day of judgment, when we get questioned, that it's just questioning, and that we can just say, you know, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question, and we can just go on. But all of us know, and we all have to remember that when we are questioned and we're not able to answer to a question, there's a severe punishment. So inshallah, may the rest of this event, you know, create a zeal and a passion for you to want to do more and to involve yourself more, inshallah. I'll pass it on to my brother Abdurrahman, who will tell you some of the stories that's happened.
ما شاء الله. ما شاء الله عليك.